Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel. Thought of another cool story tonight that I think is cool. Definitely a little wild for sure. And I want to say shout out to my brother Steve down in Mexico. Yeah, Steve in Mexico just went to Florida and did some stand-up comedy. And I got to see the stand-up comedy and good job, brother. Yeah, the dude's funny, man. So Steve, good stuff, bro. Keep in touch, man. Call me, man. Tonight, we're going to go back to when I was in the radio world. I still am. I host a Sunday night 2-hour show called The Church of Rock. But back in the day, I was a full-time radio broadcaster, Monday through Fridays on the air and every other Saturday. So I did a show called The Church of Rock since, I still do, since Halloween of 1999. But in the year 2002, 2003, 4, 5, during those years, I was working at a station in Bloomington, Illinois called WIHN 96.7 IROC. And it was a cool station playing a lot of new metal, hard rock, alternative, stuff like that. I was on 6 to midnight. It was pretty good, ratings. We had the Arbitron rating system, and I got to say humbly, and I worked for it hard, but I got pretty damn good ratings while I was at IROC, especially the last part of my tenure there before I left. But while I was there, we would often do different stunts, come up with different promotional things to do on the air to keep people tuned in, make people want to be a part of the station. We would host concerts. We would, do parties, all kinds of different giveaways. And they would have us DJs take remote kits, they called them, and we could go broadcast from pretty much anywhere, right? So we could go to like a college campus, a restaurant, anywhere, and be on the air. One time, I don't know how it started, but it started out innocently enough. I know that, man. It was around June 2002 or it was June 2004, one of the two, right? I don't remember. I'm sorry, June 2002 or July 2004, kind of irrelevant, but it was about the band KORN. Yep, KORN was coming to play Peoria, Illinois, 45 minutes away from Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, where I was working, and we were giving away front row tickets. That was a big ticket item to have back then in the early 2000s. KORN was really very big and popular. Still have a huge fan base. Obviously, they're still playing, but everyone wanted to see KORN, and front row, that was a pretty killer score, right? So we came up with a kind of a weird plan. It started out fun and innocent, but as many of my radio stunts kind of went, it turned south eventually, mostly days after the event, but we will get to that. We concocted an idea. We started plotting the basic concept of having some kind of event involving me. And I go by the name Reverend Derek Moody on the radio, and I'm a legally ordained minister. I've done over 33 weddings, and the first one I ever did was a mass wedding for 13 couples at once at a bowling alley, and we called it Lover's Lane. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, so I was on the air coming up with ideas to do something involving the Church of Rock and myself, and I thought, hey man, how about a good old-fashioned ice cream social? Summertime, ice cream, crazy stuff happening. The crazy stuff happening part is the part I didn't really plan out too far ahead of time. We kind of devised different ideas, me and some other guys at the station, and my general manager gave me the blessing, Patty Dodspach. So did my programmer, John Norton, just of course, as long as we kept things within a certain moral and ethical element, right? Because it's easy to go off the rails in rock and roll, especially if you have a lot of crazy listeners like I did, and crazy DJ like I was, who knows, whatever you decide. Anyway, it was crazy, man. We picked a date to do an ice cream social, and after I got the blessing of the management and the permission for front row tickets to KORN contest, we called it Reverend Moody's Ice Cream Social, right? We started running commercials that were playing like pretty much every couple hours on all shifts on the radio. The morning show, the midday show, the afternoon show, and of course my show, 6 to midnight, and even the overnights. Reverend Moody's Ice Cream Social. Call up and sign up and come have fun and win free tickets to see KORN. And people wondered, well, what do we got to do to be part of this? We really didn't plan too far ahead, and then we decided, well, maybe this is going to be something that's kind of aimed for the ladies. You know what I'm saying? So we decided to look for like 10 or more ladies that wanted to participate in this ice cream social, which at a rock and roll station that was mostly dominated by male listeners, this was turning out to be a pretty good promotional idea. All the girls, of course, were of legal age, and everybody was really into doing this. They were participating because they wanted to. Again, everybody had to kind of sign up, and boy, did they. But yeah, everybody was really willing and able, and everybody was of legal age, of course. It grew and grew. The whole thing got bigger and bigger. All these ads are playing on the radio. Reverend Moody's Ice Cream Social. People are calling up going, man, what's the deal? And I'm like, well, we're going to have a bunch of girls hanging out with some ice cream. And then someone said, hey, we get this swimming pool and we'll blow it up and have the girls in the swimming pool with the ice cream. And it kept growing. And basically a bunch of willing, legal age females wanted first row KORN tickets. And, well, the phones rang and rang. We finally narrowed it down to like, I don't know, 10, 15 people. We had a lot of grocery store guys, different listeners of the show, because the channel was very popular, 96.7 iRock. And one guy donated a bunch of ice cream, like gallons of ice cream, right? Another guy donated a small, he donated the pool. It was like a small to medium-sized pool, not real big, like a kid's pool kind of thing that you blow up and put in the backyard in the summertime. It's got like, you know, room for like this much water in it or something, just like a real cheap inflatable pool. Another guy donated a case of bottles of chocolate, like the kind of squeezed chocolate that you put on ice cream. It was getting weird, folks, and a little bit kinky, yeah. And then a girl, some lady, I believe, donated a bunch of cherries, like literally. And we had a guy that donated a whole box of cartons of whipped cream, and it was the kind you spray on, not just the kind in the little plastic containers. It was the kind you spray on. And then you have the chocolate that you pour on. And yeah, I think you know where this might be going. Things got a little crazy, my friends. This is like regular FM corporate radio, and all of a sudden the brass is starting to sweat. All of a sudden the brass and management are starting to go, man, you guys got to be really cool. What's exactly going to happen? I'm like, oh, it's going to be just fine, John, no problem. It's just going to be rock and roll. We're going to have a good time. Nothing, no lines are going to be crossed here, you know. I thought. Anyway, it was nuts, man. We had all this crazy stuff donated, and this was going to be one hell of an ice cream social. My reputation on the radio was kind of, let's say, as a loose cannon. Basically a wild man, and a possibility for liability pretty much for any given reason on any given day that I was on the air. Yeah. I had a lot of problems and a lot of stunts that went wrong, lawsuits and whatnot through the years. I was never fired from radio, but I was let go of one station one time in Medford, Oregon, actually, because they kept finding roaches outside on the street because I'd wait for my Uber and smoke a doob, you know, and they found little roaches. Oh, and they got a letter from a listener saying that he thought that guy thought myself and my co-host St. Christopher were, quote, queers, and he was going to hang us from the nearest tree as soon as he got his chance. I'm like, we're both married, you fool, and why are you such a backwoods redneck anyway, dude? Come on. So that was the reason I was let go at that station. Anyway, back to the regular program I was delivering before I had ADHD and kind of interrupted myself. Yeah, the party was on. The day came, it had been promoted like crazy, man. It was ads every day, every month, for about a month, 3 weeks. And I was like, man, this is going to be one hell of a party, man. What a summertime event, right? Basically, we had the people sign a disclaimer of some kind saying that they were willing to do this. No one's making them, that they're over the age. I don't know if it was 18 or 21. It was some kind of, you know, it was kind of strict. It wasn't just like, hey, we have liability at radio stations, and there's a lot of things that could happen with insurance and stuff. So believe me, they signed a disclaimer. It was all legal and good, for sure. And all the iRock guys were out there. All the other DJs were hanging out. The management, you know, our program director, John Norton's hanging out. Everyone's kind of having a beer and smoking up a little bit, and kind of, we're outside, and I got the remote kit. So I'm broadcasting live on the air while another guy's in there manning the mixing board. So whenever it was time for me to go live, we'd communicate by phones or whatever it was. He would say, okay, 30 seconds. And then I'd come in after, hey, that was Disturbed, Stupefy, right here at 96.7 iRock. Reverend Moody with you here at the Ice Cream Social. Oh boy, we've got like 13 girls involved. We've got ice cream, whipped cream, chocolate syrup, cherries, and by God, nudity. Yeah, things got crazy. That's not really what I said on the air, but that's kind of how I was on the air then. It was pretty crazy, very upbeat, very high energy. Everybody always asking me if I'm on drugs. Nope, I hate speedy drugs and not on drugs. But just a hyper ADHD mofo. That's the truth, man. But the big day came, of course, and people had heard of all the commercials, and a lot of the regular listeners showed up after hearing these commercials day and night. A lot of people showed up, man. Mostly guys, but surprisingly, a lot of ladies showed up as well. I was broadcasting again outside on the remote kit. Things started getting kind of weird, man. All the girls showed up dressed either in one-piece bikinis, but mostly two-piece bikinis. Some of them at some point decided to, well, not have any bikini, and all of a sudden, my program director's sweating. The listeners are hamming it up. Everyone's loving this, man. I'm starting to sweat a little bit thinking, uh-oh, what monster have I created? This wasn't the plan. But it got really weird and things got sticky, if you know what I'm saying. It was bizarre, man. But I watched my program director completely pacing around going, Moody, this is going too far. I'm telling you, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. And he was being cool, but he was very neurotic about it. And I don't blame him, because I could was putting these station at some kind of risk. I don't know what it was at that point, but you'll find out what it was. The ice cream social was happening, man. These girls really wanted to win first row tickets to see KORN. They really wanted to stand out from the next girl. So they started, next thing you know, these girls are giving whipped cream and all these chocolates and things, and they're pouring it over each other, and they're spraying the whipped cream, and they're eating the whipped cream, and they're putting it on different body parts, and it's just getting completely obscene. And again, the listeners are loving this, so the ratings are going to go up, but my program director's cholesterol level went up too, man, and his anxiety level went up, and his heart rate was definitely going up. And at this point, I was like, how is this going to end? How are we ever going to decide who the winner is? And how do we tell the other girls they lost after going through all this? So they're all barefoot. They're all in this blow-up pool, standing in a bunch of gallons of cold ice cream. Everyone's putting all these things on each other. They're putting cherries on top, if you know what I'm saying. It was just completely bizarre. You got to remember, they were crammed in this little space that was like a little kid's medium pool that might have held 8 people. And there's like 12, 13 girls in there. It was really bizarre to watch. People are taking photos. I believe there was some video shot of it, but that video footage was lost later because I had to hand it over. Well, you'll find out why later. But it got to be to where the girls were having a little bit too much fun, and the boss was kind of giving me an indicator that maybe I should put a kibosh on this. Again, John, my program director, sweating bullets, man. It's going too far, Derek. It's going too far. Well, a few of the other iRock DJs were there, along with the audience and the listeners that were there, to kind of help judge this wacky contest of ice cream isms. Well, the girls were pouring syrup, whipped cream, eating cherries, and, well, getting very up close with each other at this point, too, if you catch my drift. So, my goodness, a monster was created. The girls were all shoeless, as I said. They were having fun, though. There's a sight for sore eyes for everyone. It was a good time, but it was getting nervous for me. I was just thinking about my possible future in radio. I'd forget the girl who won, but we eventually narrowed it down to a few girls, and then it was narrowed down to one. It must have been something pretty damn spectacular, because we got a bunch of dudes judging. So to her credit, and I do not remember her name. You got to remember, this was decades ago. So 2002 or 2004. But this girl won, man, and she was extremely happy. But let me tell you something. The other girls that did not win the first row tickets to KORN, they were pretty pissed off. Some were cool about it. Hey, it was a lot of fun. But about a half of those other girls were like either bitter, angry, resentful, or like, I really regret this. And it was everyone was messy, covered in chocolate, whipped cream. It was like something out of a C-rated porn horror movie gone bad, but with no porn. I don't know. I guess there was a little bit activity that would be considered light porn. I don't know. But it went too far. My boss was tripping balls, for sure. The press came, for Christ's sake. I don't think they actually did an article about this, thank God. I think our general manager was smart enough to tell people, look, do not do this to me and don't write about this. And they kind of tried to sweep it under the rug, right? Well, we thought everything was cool. I mean, hell, me and the other DJs are out there getting paid to do this work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what a job, right? But it was getting too far, like I said. And let's see, I had a little note here I wanted to look at. The girls did have a blast. I got to reiterate that for sure. It got out of hand. We shut it down, but we picked the winner. She was, pretty much screaming and yelling, yeah, I get to go see KORN and all that good stuff. And then everything was cool. I went back to being on the air the next day, and we announced who the winner was. Thanked everyone for coming out. People were calling in, hey, Moody, that was crazy last night, or yesterday afternoon. It was like 6 at night it happened or something. It was crazy, though, man. And, people were calling up saying how much of a blast they had. And definitely my show was getting more listeners because of the ice cream social. I thought it was groovy and cool and peaceful until my general manager, Patty Donspach, who I'm still in touch with today and who I really respect and who's one of the most savvy businesswomen on earth. She called me into her office one day when I walked into work. She's like, hey, Derek, can you come in and shut the door? And whenever your manager in radio would say, come in and shut the door, it was never good. And it happened a lot to me. I hated it. With Patty, it was always okay because she handled things very smoothly. She wasn't ever angry. She was firm and she was professional and she didn't talk any bullshit, man. But she was cool to me and she liked me because she wanted a real rocker when she hired me as a DJ. I said, okay, as long as you accept what comes with that. And she said, I will, as long as you don't break the law. Anyway, she informed me that she had gotten a phone call from one of the girls in the ice cream social. The girl had frostbite on her feet from being in that ice cream for like an hour or whatever it was. It went on for quite a while. And she had filed a motion with her attorney, and they were going to sue the radio station and me or the station because she had gone to the doctor and she's got these bills, it's suffering and all that stuff, frostbite. And I was like, holy hell. I was like literally thinking, my job's done. But Patty told me, look, you went too far. You didn't mean for this to happen. We really should have thought this out better. It was very stupid thinking. How did we not think about that? But the girl had frostbite. So Patty said, don't worry, I'll try to figure something out, right? So everything was cool, man. I was bummed out for a couple of reasons, though, of course. I didn't want the girl to have frostbite. That sucks. One of my listeners having gone through some suffering. Man, that wasn't cool to me at all. And I was worried about that radio job that I really liked a lot, that had a lot of great fringe benefits, that I enjoyed, like meeting rock stars and, well, having ice cream socials. Well, then everything was cool. Patty said she'd keep me posted. A day or two goes by. I come into work. Patty says, hey, Derek, can you come in and shut the door? I'm like, uh-oh, this probably isn't going to be good. It was bad. It was really bad, man. Patty said that she had gotten another call. For fuck's sake. She had gotten another call. Another lawsuit had come in. Yep. A second girl was now saying she had frostbite and that she went to the doctor and the doctor said, you've got frostbite. And it was all red and her feet were irritated. She couldn't walk on it. It was bad. And that she had contacted her attorney and lo and behold, we were going to go to court a second time. This time, Patty wasn't real happy. She was a little bit nervous. She kind of let me know that things could turn out really well or it could turn out okay or it might be for me. She didn't threaten my job, but I figured I might have it coming this time, right? I was freaking out, man. I was. For about a week, I was very nervous. I was thinking any day I'm going to hear, come in, Derek, shut the door. And I was going to be told, I'm sorry, we have to let you go. We got sued by all this money, your insurance company, blah, blah, blah. But one day, one day I'm on the air. I have my headphones on. I'm behind the console. I just got done doing a break. Patty comes in. She's smiling. She's a very pretty lady, really nice, very cool. Always wearing a business suit kind of lady, though, you know, businesslike. And she says to me, shuts the door in the room of the studio that I'm broadcasting my show from, and says, well, Derek, I've got good news. And I'm like, oh my God, please, anything that's good, please bring it on, Patty. And Patty says, I was able to settle with both parties out of court for one. And I'm like, oh my Lord, how did you do that? And she went on to explain to me that she sat down and talked to these people one-on-one, and using her business prowess and her smarts and her intelligence, and knowing how people are crazy about rock and roll, she literally talked these girls into dropping these lawsuits in exchange for front row tickets to see KORN. And she might have even gotten them VIP to meet the band, maybe something like that. Don't quote me on that part. But all I know is those girls did it, and it didn't take them long to ponder. And they decided, you know, I could make a few bucks, or I can go sit front row at KORN and maybe meet the band. So that's what happened, man. And I literally was let off the hook at that one. That was maybe the fourth or fifth time that I had a lawsuit against me at a radio station. I've got more stories about that. Please subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment if you like. Give it a thumbs up if you would. And I got some more rock, punk, metal, and outlaw country, and curveball tales like this one coming up, my friends. If you have any requests about shows too, please leave them in the comment section. I will say this. KORN actually played about a week after this event happened, and I was assigned the person to take all the winners that had won a contest, including I think the girl that won that contest. A bunch of winners, like 6 or 8 people won, and I got to take them there to meet Jonathan Davis and KORN, the entire band. And I've got a whole separate story about that, believe me. I actually freaked out Jonathan Davis very badly, to the point to where he says, "What the F?" And he jumped up and he had his manager take my phone number. But that's another story. And I got to say this as a side note. When I did that ice cream social, I was dressed head to toe in black with an actual priest shirt on with the actual collar that I got at a religious store. And my boss liked it when I dressed like that, because it was just part of the image of Reverend Derek Moody. And it was just a satire thing, though. It wasn't meant to be sacrilegious, or it wasn't meant to be disrespectful or anything but fun. And nobody ever really hassled me about doing that, except one guy at a frat house one time, and he threatened to beat me up because of it. I'm like, dude, you're taking it too seriously. But I digress. Thanks for listening to my story, man. And I appreciate each and every one of you rockers. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Hell, it's already Thursday right now. God, I never know what day it is. Stay away from ice cream if you're barefoot.